because we're living in these very uncertain times. Everything going on in the world. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of lack of clarity. There's a lot of anxiety, emotional turbulence, all of these things. And yeah, a lot of people are looking for meaning. And paradoxically, I do find that in this time, what is moving through us is also, in a way, supporting us to find clarity onto who we really are and what are our life patterns, um, behavioral patterns, traumas, inherited narratives, all of these things that hold us back from embodying our truth. So let's unpack this for a little bit, especially as we're wrapping up the eclipse season. Last eclipse was about 1 week ago. So now we're in this integration phase, right? Eclipse season lasts about around 6 weeks, like 2 before, 2 between them, and then another 2 weeks after. So now we're in this integration phase, but still we're in the season, right? And eclipse seasons are periods of time in the year, 2 of them, where the energy is very chaotic, right? Like things are coming up to the surface, especially on the emotional realm. We're coming face to face with karmic threads, with unresolved situations, with ways in which we are sabotaging ourselves. We get triggered more. We feel more confused. We kind of like feel like in a pressure cooker. So because the whole role of the eclipses is to align us with our highest timeline by breaking us free of this calcified view of our reality, the identity that we're stuck into, right? So for that, it needs to be like sometimes like a shock to the system. So in this sense, I feel like this period is perfect for getting clarity onto your life patterns because, and I've experienced this in my own, we're coming face to face with a lot of triggers, right? Like through the people, the circumstances, the relationships that we have, the interactions with people. There's a lot of emotional material, a lot of subconscious material that is surfaced at this time, right? But it requires presence, it requires awareness, it requires like an intent to slow down and to witness yourself, right? To kind of like zoom out a little bit from the trigger, from being controlled, right, by your emotions. Zoom out, have a bit of an objective perspective, and then I always recommend writing. Like for me, writing is it's a perfect practice. Journaling, especially, because then you take what is inside of you and in your mind, in your heart, in your body, right, and you put them on the paper, right, and then you see them like in tangible form, and then it's like channeling, like your subconscious expresses into tangible form, and then you can analyze that, look into it, observe it, make sense of it. But yeah, my point being is that even though this time is very chaotic, it holds opportunity and potential to greater clarity about who you are, because everything is more strong, emphasized, intense. So when your triggers are more intense, when your emotional turbulence is more intense, then it gives you greater chance to observe those patterns, right? Astrology is a great practice to do that because it's a map to your most authentic self. Like, I don't see astrology as deterministic. I see it as a framework for self-development. But it's a map because it shows you your archetypal potential, right? I see the chart as an archetypal potential that gets manifested as your consciousness moves through it, through the life choices that you make. Look at it this way. So there is this element of fate, right? Like we have certain, we have a certain blueprint, right? So you cannot change that. That is your the choice that you made when you came into this lifetime, right? So the chart that you have was determined at the moment of your birth, right? So everything that happened to determine that chart was before your birth. And maybe we'll discuss the element of past lives here too, but what I want to say is that there is a reason for the chart that you have, so for picking up that specific time, that specific location, that specific family, specific culture, everything that you're born into, because those create the exact conditions and requirements for your soul's evolution, for what you're here to embody, and the transformations that you need to go through, and the lessons that you need to learn, and the service that you need to provide. And so there's an intentionality to incarnation, right? It's not random. And that's why I feel like, in a way, past lives offer a great context for the developmental journey to deeper understand some conditions that predate birth. Because in psychology, for example, we go back to childhood and we analyze everything all the way back to early childhood. But some of these conditions predate childhood, and I've experienced that in my life. So yeah, again, like when it comes to past lives, I'm not that interested in the forensic aspect of like like who you were, but rather like what happened and what determined this intent to be born at this exact time in this exact condition, to have this exact chart, right? So then when you look at the chart, it will tell you this blueprint, right? So you have this blueprint. So for example, I'm an Aquarius, like I can't change that. So even if I want to be a Libra, I can't. Like I'm an Aquarius, so I have this kind of like blueprint that I'm working within, right? But then how I manifest that in my life, how I make that work in my life is through, it's like my own free will, right? I can choose to express that in many ways. There's a whole spectrum. So like no placement is deterministic, right? It has a whole spectrum to it, and you have that free will um, to work within that spectrum. And that's why I always say, like, there's no bad placement in the chart. I much rather enjoy a chart with a lot of challenges, with a lot of squares, than one where everything is harmonious, because there's nothing to learn there. Everything just works perfectly. So for me, it's like when I see a chart that has a lot of challenging aspect, that's like a lot more interesting to work with, because the potential for growth there is immense, because you need to really learn to be in a right relationship with those archetypes, feed them in the right way, express them in the right way. So that's why I'm saying that astrology is a map, because it doesn't tell you who you are. No, nothing will tell you who you are. I don't really believe that. But it will tell you your archetypal journey and the rites of passage that you're meant to go through, the timing of those rites of passage. And this is like where the gold is. So it will tell you like the seasons of your life, what are you navigating, what is inviting you into, what is the deeper meaning of the challenges in your life, your relationships, what are those recurring patterns that you keep seeing. So for me, this is where the gold is, and that's why this period is perfect for soul work and for getting clarity, because everything is, like I was saying, so emphasized, so intense. So then you can really sit down with them. And yeah, I feel like it's a perfect time to like work with your chart. If you have awareness of astrology, work it yourself. If not, it's the perfect time to book a session to go into it and explore it. And yeah, I feel like when you find meaning in the things that you're navigating, this gives you a sense of trust and empowerment, and you realize that everything, every circumstance and relationship is there to teach you about yourself, to help you break free of your conditioning and to embody a higher level of freedom and authenticity. And yeah, a lot of people, when they come to my sessions, they ask, like, what is their purpose? I think that's like the most common question that I ask. And sure, there's many ways to explore like purpose in a chart, and I'm fascinated by that. I love that. That's a question that I've been asking myself all my life. So I'm really, I really love to go down that rabbit hole with people too. But honestly, what I feel like is purpose is more like a quality of consciousness. So I just wrote earlier today, for example, that what if purpose is not something to achieve, but something to receive? It's like a remembrance. What if purpose is who you really are when you're relaxed in your body, when you're aligned with the rhythms of your body, like your own rhythms? And I really resonate with that, because when we're in alignment with how our body, how our life wants to move, we're kind of in divine timing, right? And then everything happens at the right time. Like all the opportunities come at the right time. Things end when they need to end. Things begin when they need to begin. It's like trains that are in sync, right? When we're out of time, and most of us were out of time, we're disconnected from our body, disconnected from nature, disconnected with our own rhythms, then it's like you you come to the station, but the train has already left, or it's not there yet. It's like this, not like I, the word doesn't come to me right now, but when things are out of sync, like insights are useful. Insights can lead to shifts in perception, can lead to epiphanies. But like for me, it's also about more and more about embodiment, self-empowerment, and kind of like guiding the person to find their own answer. So yeah, self-empowerment. And I really got inspired. I'll tell you the story. I really got inspired by, I'm part of this Gene Key retreat that they're doing right now. It's called the Sage Retreat. And during the first 4 months, we're exploring the activation sequence in the Gene Keys. So each month is one sphere. And there's a lot to talk about each sphere in the profile. So, for example, you have the first sphere, it's your life's work sphere. So you have a Gene Key there aligned, and there's a challenge going out of it. So there's a lot of information, but like something that Richard Rudd, so the creator of the Gene Key, so he added to this retreat is he has this book called The Sage, where he went into each one of the lines in the Gene Keys. You get like 300 and something lines, because there's 64 keys, each one can have 6 lines. So for each one he wrote these short sutras. It's like a 4 line, like few words, like poems, poetry. And it's interesting enough that now we're like 2.5 months into the retreat, and so we're at the 3rd sphere, and all I've done for the whole month for each one of the sphere is just sit with that sutra. I haven't gone into the information. Well, I've been contemplating and working with the Gene Keys for years, so I know a lot about it, but like I haven't dived deep into the codex, the information that was provided. I was like, no, I just want to stay with this little sutra and see what opens inside of me. What opens inside of me when I contemplate those 4 lines, that short poem. I really resonate with that, and I feel like in this day and age where there's a lot of information, we're outsourcing our authority. It's like you can go to ChatGPT, ask it, like paste your chart there, ask it about it, they will tell you. Well, probably half of it will be nonsense. I mean, not nonsense, but you need discernment. That's why I encourage people to learn astrology, because you need a discernment to know what's true for you, what's not. It can be very disempowering if not. Going back to what I was saying at the beginning, it can create self-limiting beliefs. But anyway, like there's a lot of information online, and for me it's like cool, but like what about your own creative way of seeing things, your own creative way of exploring things. So yeah, for me it was so beautiful, like sitting with that poem and letting that open me up and letting that guide me into what does this gene key mean if I just sit with that poem, like a tarot card. Like when you put a tarot card, you have this image, and then if you don't read anything about it, you just sit with the image. It's kind of like it opens you up. You allow it to take you on its journey, and you can show that image to different people, and it will open different things for each and every one of them. So for me, that's the beauty of it. And then in my sessions, I feel like it evolved more and more towards this, being in conversation with the person, like seeing where they're navigating, and then kind of like guiding them to this place through metaphors, through visuals, through the right questions, to kind of find their relationship with that archetype instead of telling them how things are, like allowing that wisdom, that remembrance to come. And yeah, Richard says it very nice in the Jinkies that these sutras, they're like acupuncture points of consciousness, hitting the right point. And that's exactly how it's like I've been feeling like I want my sessions to be. It's like just giving these like nice acupuncture points, right? Where you hit the right energetic point and it just like opens up the body and opens up this field of remembrance, and then you get this like creative spark that leads to an epiphany, and then that's yours. Like you received it, it opened up inside of you. So for me, this is the beauty. And yeah, I don't know if you resonate with it. I would love to go on the journey with you. So yeah, less and less about mental information, more and more about embodiment, creative expression. But yeah, the offer that I wanted to tell you. So this is my post eclipse gift. I'll do 50% discount to the next 5 astrology sessions. So I'll change the price now in my calendar, from my usual sessions. I think they're like 222 USD. So I'll put them at 111 for the next 5. So next 5 bookings, you'll get high price. Yeah. And the last thing is, I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious about your life. What are you navigating right now, what are your biggest challenges? So drop a comment. Also drop a comment saying session, and then I'll send you the link to the calendar so you can book it straight away, so you don't need to like look for links and stuff. And also drop a comment and let me know what you've been navigating. How is this landing, what I was sharing? If it opens something inside of you and you feel like adding to the contemplation, let me know. And yeah, sending you all much love. Thank you for joining me, and we'll definitely do more of these. Like I love just having tea and sharing with you, even in like this, in the virtual space. So sending you all much love. Thank you.